Hey, good afternoon, First Baptist Church, Denver City. It's good to see you again, even if it is via video. We want to update you on a few things around here. As I'm sure you're aware, in the state of Texas, the COVID-19 virus has spiked a little bit, so that puts a kink in our plans. Our plan was to regather in one service this Sunday, July the 5th, and also to begin our life groups and children's Sunday school this week. Those plans have been delayed somewhat. We don't know exactly how long or what this virus is going to do, as it has been the case the whole time. So we are going to remain where we have been. We are going to have two services on Sunday, one at 8:30. We encourage those who are compromised in any way or maybe a little older to be a part of that 8:30 service, and then we'll have a service at 10:45 as well as we have been, and we'll have children's church in the basement and no life groups or children's Sunday school this week yet. So please stay tuned for that. We have confirmed with our judge, Jim Barron, that there are 32 confirmed cases in Yoakum County, and 28 of those are in Denver City. And so we want to make sure that we continue the social distancing practices. I just want to say a personal note on that. I've probably been a little lax. Maybe you have too. Even when we've come to this place, we've got to maintain our discipline in that. We want to continue to wash our hands. If you feel more comfortable wearing a mask, please do that. And let's refrain again, go back again to no handshakes if you've been doing that, and no hugs, please. I know that's hard. We come to church a lot of times to experience the love and camaraderie and compassion of one another. The social aspects of it are real in our fellowship, but we want to distance ourselves. Remember, handshakes and hugs and all that, that's really a cultural thing to show our appreciation and our acceptance, our love for one another. Let's find another way. Let's do the fist bumps or the elbows and just know it means the same thing. It's not that we're afraid. We're not afraid. But it is that we respect and that we love other people. And there are people who are susceptible to this that we're going to continue to love. So if you see somebody with a mask, would you respect the fact that they have a mask on? And they're actually protecting you. Their mask protects you. And so if you wear a mask, you would protect them. Also, if someone wants to shake your hand and you don't shake their hand, don't feel bad about that. And if you're trying to shake everybody's hand, let me ask you why. Why are you trying to do that at this point, at this juncture? Are you trying to prove a point? Are you trying to prove that you're fearless? Because that's not the way to prove that. Please just do what the government officials, the medical folks, even though you may not always agree with them, have asked us to do, just for a period of time. It's not going to last forever, but we need to make it last for as long as it needs to last. The tendency for all of us is to think, well, we've gotten used to this, and we're just going to be a little lax, and that's what we've seen. And now the virus is among us. For the longest period of time, we had one case or two or three, and now we have 32 cases in Yoakum County. And if that were to double or quadruple in the next month or two, that's a pretty significant amount. And then it just has shown a tendency this virus has of just taking off, and that's kind of the nature of what's going on. So please take it serious, and please don't pass judgment on someone else for the way they feel about this or handle this, and don't let this be a dividing point among the brothers and sisters of Christ who are to love and respect and appreciate and fellowship with one another, or we'll have to shut the whole thing down. I don't want that, and you don't either. So let's do what God has called us to do in loving one another. The other update I want to give you is we don't know exactly what this virus is going to do to our Mission DC project. So stay tuned. In the next week to 10 days, we'll be making some more decisions along those lines. That, of course, will affect our VBS in the park and our projects on July the 25th. So as we continue to stay informed and try to keep you informed, would you just know that everything is TBA, TBD, to be announced, to be determined. And so we appreciate your cooperation. We've seen so much support and love for our church staff and for myself personally. I appreciate that. And let's continue to do that, and let's continue to seek the Lord and the welfare of His people together, because I love you and I want you to be well, and I want our community to be well, and I want us to be the light and salt that God has called us to be in this community. Now, I want us also to begin our study of Daniel, and we didn't know how else to do that this week, since we were going to have life groups. We were going to all be together. I'm just going to do a brief overview and background of the book of Daniel for a moment. And so if you want a copy of our study, we have those available in the office, and they'll also be made available on Sunday morning. It may be just a little bit behind, so you might need to review some of this, but I do want us to give you a background and then cover the first lesson, the first chapter of the book of Daniel. As we look at this together, I want to just let you know what's going on historically, because it's so important. And I think one of the reasons we're studying Daniel during this time is the way that Daniel and his friends, and the way that God uses adversity in their lives. No, most certainly this COVID-19 has been an adversity for so many people, at least throwing us off schedule and wrecking the economy to a certain degree. So we know we're in the face of adversity, and so was Daniel. And yet he thrived in the face of adversity. Remember what's going on in history at this time. The Assyrians in 722 BC, you might just jot that down. They captured the northern kingdom, Israel, and carried them off. They were a wicked people. That's why Jonah, the prophet, didn't want to go to Assyria, Nineveh, the capital city of Assyria. Later on, after the Assyrians, the Babylonians came and overtook the Assyrians and destroyed the temple in Jerusalem in 586 BC. Even before that, they had besieged Jerusalem. Nebuchadnezzar had the ruler of Babylon, and had carried off a portion of folks, especially the young, healthy, good-looking men to serve in his court in Babylon. And that's where the book of Daniel primarily is taking place. It goes all the way to the Persians, which come after the Babylonians, and after the Persians are the Greeks, and then the Romans during Jesus' time. So that's just a brief history of what's going on. And Daniel and his friends, you'll know them by their Babylonian names, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, are leaders, young leaders in that empire. Chapter 1 has to do with the diet test. Remember? The king wanted them to eat certain foods, and he was training them and re-educating them. See, the Assyrians just wiped them out and just obliterated the opposition when they overtook countries. But the Babylonians wanted to take in the culture of the new land and wanted to re-educate them and make good Babylonians of them. And so Daniel and his friends received new names and a new education, but there were certain things that they balked at because it made them distinctively Jewish, really. One of those things was the food. Remember, the Jews had certain dietary laws that they practiced, and in this instance, Daniel refused all the food of the Babylonians and simply wanted vegetables and water. And God gave them favor so that they could put that to the test. And God showed the Babylonian leaders that these guys, at one point it says they are are 10 times more capable because God gave them knowledge, and gave specifically Daniel the ability to interpret dreams and visions. And so God is the hero, as he is in all of Scripture, in the book of Daniel. Daniel and his friends are not the heroes. They're simply servants of God. And God is orchestrating world events, and God is dealing with all of what is going on. The main theme of the book of Daniel is God's sovereignty. He's in control. And he still is. He's in control of nature and the things that are going on all around us. When we seem to be so dependent upon that, it's out of our control. And he's in control of nations as they rise and they fall. And he's in control of the care of his people. He provides and protects. And he does that for Daniel and his friends. And so the first chapter is just a kind of an introduction to the rest of the book of Daniel. Just give you a little structure. The first 6 chapters of Daniel, it's not in chronological order. The first 6 chapters deal with various court tales. Daniel and his friends in the king's court and how they deal with the adversity there. And the last 6 chapters deal with 4 visions that God specifically gives Daniel about the future kingdom and the end of time. So we're looking forward to studying that the next few weeks. Don't know exactly how long that will last. Our study in our life groups is scheduled for 12 to 14 weeks. So we'll be headed into the book of Daniel all the way through September. I hope you'll join us in this study, and as we see what God is doing in our current situation, we'll see a lot of parallels to the way that God was dealing with his people in adverse situations in the book of Daniel. And we know this: God is always with us, no matter what we face. Even with Daniel carried off into a foreign land. Seems like this time, this day and age, I feel like a stranger in a strange land. And that's Daniel's situation. I don't know all that you're going through. I know some of what you're going through. And I know that whatever it is, God is able. And he will. And even if he doesn't, as the friends of Daniel said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and even if he doesn't, we'll still trust him. Because we know this life, this world, our circumstances are not all there is. We look to a better world. We look to heaven, but we also get glimpses of that even now. And so will you be used by God to continue to perpetuate faith in him? And will you stay strong in your faith even in the midst of some difficult circumstances and adversity? Oh, I hope you will. And as we look at this study, we'll see the test that God puts Daniel through, both in adversity and even in prosperity, and that's the test we still face. So how will you deal with them? How will you handle them? I hope you'll join us as we together get through this season, and as we deal with this virus, and as we unite for his kingdom purposes and his glory. God is always working for our good and to display his glory. Will you find it? Will you join me as we find it together? Thanks for joining us this afternoon for this little update. God bless you.